You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we are going to tackle Seller Fulfilled Prime. Got a longtime friend of the network, Matt Snyder over at Brands Excel. Been on the brand side for a long time, now has an agency, is helping a ton of people out. Just one of those people that I rely on for the newest things that are popping up across Amazon for sure. But Matt, I'll kick it over to you. Do you want to do intro yourself?
Yeah.
Brands Excel, that'd be here. Where you're at now and what you're doing. That'd be awesome. And then we'll just kind of jump into it. Sound good?
Sounds great, Aaron. No, excited to be here. Also, anytime you and I have known each other for a long time. I've always taken a lot of value and appreciated what BWG strategy has done for me when I was on the brand side. Helped me connect with the right knowledge experts and service providers. Right, like during my time, like your team, and just the relationship is always hugely critical and beneficial. So happy to get back to the community here and share some of my insights that I've had as a experienced Seller Fulfilled Prime seller here. So quick intro myself. I've been in this Amazon space now about 16 years. Originally based here in Dallas. Originally worked for this team back over here, the Dallas Mavericks. So came to Dallas, worked for them for 6 years. Thought it was like my dream job. I was going to be in sports all my life. But kind of, was getting a little bored. I had an itch to do something new and interesting. And at the time, Mark Cuban had been talking about this new company that he'd been advising called Woot.com. And so for those of you who know Woot, it was this really exciting site. It was
what a throwback,
business, right? Way back in the day, right? Kind of ages me a little bit, but
really quick, did you ever get the bag of crap?
I did. Oh, yeah. So even though we all worked there, we were the same, we didn't know necessarily when, or we had the same challenges. So we all sit there F5, refresh, and try and grab it. Servers crash. And
yeah, tell everybody really quick, for those who don't know what Woot.com was.
So genius, the development that the guys had here is they were a wholesale company, and they created this experience. And I think that there's a lot we could actually, as brands, can take away from what they created here was, for let's just say it was, this iPhone product, right? It's the product. So we would work with a brand who maybe had an order cancel or some type of inventory position where they were over inventoried on it and they needed a way to clear it out. So for that one day, we would sell this one product, but what the team did is they created this experience. So they'd have these writers who write this kind of comical story about their product, oftentimes kind of joking about it, it's a really bad product, it's a piece of junk, but you should probably buy it anyways, right? So this funny history around it, but then a community where the people come, and it was kind of their blogs were just getting really popular, and so people come and hang out and talk about the product, talk about cultural things at the time. It just became this place to hang out, and we had over 1 million followers at the time. So when we put a product up at a really good price point, it would sell everything. And I know there's times we had memory cards were a big thing at the time, right? Our phones didn't have 250 gig of memory. We had to have it on this little disk. We sold over 100,000 SD cards in a day. Just crazy numbers of things that we could do. And we came up with things like the bag of crap, which was, the president at the time, his name was Daryl Grill. Daryl came up with this idea of, we would know what to sell the next day. He's like, we got these earbuds, we got this, we could, I don't know, throw it in a bag and call it a bag of crap and see what happens. And that was the genesis of the bag of crap. And it was all the leftover things we had. And you could get a bag of, 100 SD cards, or you could get a bag, or you get a brand new 65-inch TV. You don't know what you got until it showed up at your door.
Yeah.
But that was the grassroots marketing for them back in the day.
That was awesome. I couldn't refresh fast enough because it would literally sell out near instantaneously, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody was hitting it. Everybody's hitting, like you said, refresh. Dang it all, sold out.
So what's funny is so Amazon acquired the business in 2010. And after we did the acquisition, also we're kind of working on their platforms and their things. And we were talking about this Woot event, this Woot off. And said, yeah, every time we have this bag of crap, like it crashes the site. And they're like, this doesn't happen on Amazon. Like Amazon, like we're different. And so the first time we still crashed the site. The site still went down. There's just so many people pinging the site at the same time. But this talks to the success that was Woot, and really a pioneer back in the day, and taught me a lot. Even today, a lot of things that I found beneficial as I'm advising and consulting with brands goes back to my time and experience of what I learned with the team there.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe we got off subject there, but that was fun.
But obviously from there, I've had a couple of different paths. I started a business for a while to kind of in the state of the deal space, but the last 7 years, I spent my time with a brand called Veridesk. So Veridesk was this, again, a great success story of this D2C brand who created a unique product, solved a unique problem for people who, I'm standing right at my desk, but at the time, we didn't have all these fancy electric standing desks. So this, was a product that you put on your desk, allowed you to sit and stand, had huge success, but they were looking to sell on Amazon. I joined their team to help them solve this problem. How do we sell this product effectively on Amazon? We had great success, but one of the key things that we did during that time was we actually operated as seller fulfill prime. And there was a few reasons why we did that. The one being it was this large, bulky, heavy product. So fewer times that goes on a truck, fewer opportunities for damages, lower our costs. But the other was that the fact that they were a D2C brand first, they had gone out and they had a 3PL partnership. They had these kind of carrier things, partnerships set up. So it made it easier for them to stand up SFP, as compared to brands who start on the FBA side. But what it also did is it gave them flexibility as they were D2C brand first, and really even like corporate, B2B sales second, and then Amazon kind of third. They gave us this flexibility with their inventory to not have this inventory just locked and dedicated to Amazon only. They could still be very successful on Amazon, but if inventories were up or down or whatever, they had the ability to kind of flex that across these other channels. And so over the time, 7 years there as the vice president of online retail, and I left this last year just to pursue a new agency called Brands Excel, and where we try to be different is kind of examples of we're talking about seller fulfill prime. So when brands need more than just Amazon advertising or more than just product page development, they need somebody to kind of come in and help them think through building the right strategy, whether it be seller fulfill prime or whether it's how do we inventory plan a model for the next 12 months so that as we have success on Amazon, how do we not lose that momentum because we go out of stock on these products? Or how does our operations and finance team need to adapt to Amazon? Because we all know as our experience on Amazon, when you take Amazon and throw it into an existing business operations, it's going to be very disruptive. So how do we come in as a agency and help you improve those business operations so that when we get to the Amazon media, right, it could be most effective when the rest of the business is healthy? One of the ways we've done this is helping brands think through seller fulfill prime and implementing that into their business strategy.
So you want to walk us through though, because remember, Amazon stopped giving out the seller fulfilled prime badges for a while, and it seems, from my standpoint and just talking with brands, it was a lot of people were abusing the program, and they were supposedly seller fulfilled prime, but they weren't really doing it, and it kind of got everything out of control because Amazon wants to control that customer experience. Mm-hmm. And prime means at the time it meant 2 days. And if it doesn't show up,
that's their brand, right? Prime is the brand of Amazon.
Yeah. So is that what it was? Like, can you walk us through, from your standpoint, why did Amazon yank that back? And then what's changed where they're coming back with it? And then let's jump into, what do people need to consider before they do it? Because everybody is like, oh, wow, if I could get it back, that'd be amazing. But the reality is there's still thresholds you have to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. So again, the program launched back in 2015. It was in beta for quite a while. They closed the beta. And then even during that period, people were dropping off. And it was kind of what you shared. When you think prime, you think 2-day delivery, you think fast shipment. And what was occurring is these sellers were getting SFP badge, but they had one warehouse in New Jersey or wherever, and they're trying to ship national from New Jersey. You just can't do that effectively. And so customers were having poor experiences with the deliveries. So a lot of those sellers were kind of forced out of the program. And I think you had this window of time then, when Amazon wasn't investing in it because they weren't quite sure what to do with seller fulfillment. There's a kind of a select number of us who kind of stayed in the program this entire time. And there was a lot of different changes, but it still worked for us. I think what changed is, as Amazon saw here recently, is during the COVID period, they took a lot of capital into building up FBA fulfillment centers, probably overbuilt, right? And now they're trying to unwind it, right? And as you have the growth of D2C brands, of the explosions of Shopify businesses and all these others, BigCommerce and these others, is the SFP kind of helps in two ways. One, the type of products where generally SFP works well are not generally the products Amazon wants in their fulfillment centers. So it kind of solves that pain point of cost-effective products not being in FBA. It reduces the number of warehouses they have to be dependent on. And it helps kind of attract these brands who maybe are not native on Amazon, who have other 3PL or warehouse infrastructure set up for their D2C business, to kind of bring them in, provide an easier entry path for those brands as well too. So I think there's a couple of different benefits that they've seen and why they're bringing it back. And in doing so, they have brought some good resources. They provide, there's a team now that's been really beneficial for us as we've been working with them, get this standing up. And, they've rolled out a new program. So there's kind of a two-stage approach. If you want to explore the brand or this opportunity, generally what I tell brands is you kind of before you start anything, do kind of an internal self-evaluation and audit. And what I mean by that is look at your product catalog. And if you fit into one of these categories, you're probably a good candidate for seller fulfillment. First being, are you a high value item? What I mean by this is, say, over $100. There's products that are sold for thousands of dollars on Amazon, right? You got high-end watches, jewelry, fashion, things like that. So as you think about these higher end products, you've sold on Amazon, use fulfillment by Amazon, that inventory can get lost, get damaged, it can get misplaced, all these different things. And yes, you can get reimbursed by Amazon, but there's a lot of process of having to go through the process to get through reimbursement. You also have the lost period of sales. It's more capital intensive for these type of products when you have to go through these experiences. And SFP is a way to kind of eliminate or reduce that capital risk and expenditure. So kind of into that, that's a good one. The second would be, is your product seasonal, or does the demand fluctuate throughout the period too? So if you think again about some of these brands where 80%, 90% of their sales come in a 3-month period, Amazon's made some concessions to help these brands, but generally they have a lot of challenges with FBA capacity during these periods of time. So FBA or SFP kind of helps solve that by, you don't have to do as much prepping or planning and ensuring that all your inventory gets received and through the process of the FBA in that period of time. Because if you miss even a week delay during that period of time, can be a huge impact to these sellers. The other than items with like big variations. So if you have a product that has, say like 20, 30, sometimes like 50 different variations, really easy for Amazon to like kind of mix or match these different products and misship and things like that. So where you have these kind of complex variations, SFP can be a good solution. And the last kind of being, big and bulky. So that's kind of where Veritas fit into the picture. And big and bulky doesn't always mean heavy. We work with another brand that have a bulkier product, size of kind of like my shoulders, but that's lightweight. So that actually is a really good solution for them. We actually did a cost analysis for them, and we were able to take their FBA cost was about 19% of their sales volume, and we were able to get that down to like 10%. So it's actually, in this case, like SFP was a big cost reducer for them in comparison to FBA. And that's not even counting in the other cost savings we were kind of talking about earlier of your inventory getting lost or the time period of inbound shipping. And it's not sellable, but that's inventory you have to have. You've paid your supplier for it, but it's not sellable, right? So all these different things what SFP can do is give you this flexibility of better control of your logistics, better control of your inventory, better control of your customer experience. And then really it's opening up the pathway for you to go omni-channel. That's the part that's often kind of overlooked or not really valued as much of, I built this great fulfillment solution that solves my problems for Amazon, gives me the Prime badge, gives me the 1-2 day delivery nationwide. Gosh, what if I added the same service and the same speed to my D2C page? What's that going to do to my conversion, my sales on my Shopify page if I can do that? Now I can go and I can open Walmart, I can open Target, I can open these other marketplaces and leverage that same solution to provide the shipping for those as well too. So those are just, again, kind of the early stages where I'd start. And if I kind of fit into those, then man, I really should jump in and explore how can I get into this program.
But then you need the logistics, you need the warehouses, right? You need to be able to meet those commitments. What do those thresholds look like? Because that's right. You're right. I go through, I meet those, right? For seller fulfilled Prime. Next one is, can I even get it to people? And that begs a couple different questions, including, do I have to hit the whole US? Can I segregate out a part of it and just target that? Is there a way to split it, or, based on, zip code, delivery address, all
Great
those
question.
fun things?
Yeah, great question. So yes, so let's go back to kind of like the qualifications. As you're first getting into the program, you're going to go through kind of an evaluation period, and what they're looking for is you're going to have to ship 100 merchant fulfillment orders. You're going to have to hit a percentage of on-time tracking, on-time delivery. Once you kind of meet that baseline, then you get into the actual SFP program. Now, I'm going to read off these kind of performance metrics, and they're going to sound a little overwhelming, and they can be if you don't have the right plan in place. And that's where I think going back to like having the right partner makes all the difference. So once you're in the program, you have to have an on-time delivery of 93.5%, which is it can be challenging. And with that, you have to have valid tracking of 99%. And that's just making sure that the tracking number you give Amazon is the real tracking number, and order cancellations of less than 0.5%. So this is not something you can do out of a single warehouse, from one location in US. It really does require you to have either expanded warehouse solution. And that was generally the hurdle where they get a seller get to this point, like, yeah, I can't, this is not cost effective. I would say within the last year, 2 years, this is where like some of the biggest changes have happened. Is there's some partners out there, and I know you've had some of them on there. A friend, Corey over at Da Vinci Micro Fulfillment is one of those. I know the one I've been working with is Where to Go, which is a UPS company. And both of these 3PL services, they have worked closely with Amazon. They work closely with carriers. Amazon has vetted them and said that they can provide self-fulfilled Prime services. And they've got the carrier rates that you as a brand can go to and leverage, where you don't have to go out and stand up your own carrier solution. You don't have to stand up your own 3PL, or the technology that makes this all work. And so I would say like the development of these two examples that I've shared with you in the 3PL side are really the game changers for brands as they explore this. Is a lot of those heavy hurdles to get over have been solved by these two companies.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too. If I'm a brand and I can control my inventory, and Amazon's had a bunch of changes, right? Or they're putting one thing that we know about Amazon is they will consistently try to extract more dollars from our business. That's just the reality. And so, the FBA fees, low inventory, if you can have it in a separate warehouse or warehouses like a Da Vinci, and seller fulfilled Prime, so the Prime badge is still there, then you can just hand it all off. And you can control your inventory.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of walking through this is you have your inventory comes in. If you've got a warehouse or someplace that you're storing, then you're prepping, you send it to Amazon. So let's just think through that. You got sellable inventory with FBA, then you got inbound, and then you got your long-term holding. It's that period in between that's again a capital you have paid out to your supplier or whomever, but it's not sellable and it's just sitting there costing you money. Those are the type of value adds here. Not to mention I can now take this inventory, I can put it across my D2C, I can start building up these other retail marketplaces. And if all of a sudden my D2C business continues to grow, I don't have this inventory locked and held to just Amazon only. I can flex it into my D2C, or I can flex it to these other channels, or maybe I'm more profitable And as you shared, like, yeah, these costs for Amazon, you should expect that they're always going to continue to go. And Andrew Jassy, the last shareholder letter was talking about these operating costs, and they have a high focus of reducing these internal costs. These are hard costs. These are warehouse costs, fulfillment costs. Like, somebody has to pay for this, and so we as sellers are all bearing the brunt of that right now. But these costs are getting passed down to us. So we as sellers have to figure out, how are we going to change our business? Amazon's changing theirs. How are we going to change our business and our models and strategies to account for these costs, ensure that our profits stay healthy, as the profits for Amazon are definitely improving and healthy today.
Yeah, I just love the standpoint of me controlling my inventory and not being dictated by Amazon how much shelf space I could have, right, at the fulfillment center, right, which a lot of brands experience during the holidays and crunch time, right, is if you're not an immediately a giftable product that's usually, on somebody's wish list, your overall allocated space is shrinking.
Exactly.
And if you go out of stock, it's just money. You just stop showing up, right? You just don't get the buy box. That's it.
Yeah.
But with a seller fulfilled Prime, if you're in control of it, and you all of a sudden see a major influx, maybe the competition goes out on Amazon or Walmart or wherever, you don't have to worry about, number one, you immediately going out of stock, right? But you can rebalance the inventory on your own as you see fit.
Absolutely. And
brands
what I share with you, Aaron, as well as brands are thinking about this, this isn't an all or nothing type of approach or strategy you have to have in place. And when you gain the SFP badge or eligibility, it's applied to you at your account level. So even for those sellers, you have multiple brands, or as you're doing your evaluation, this product we're going to work really well with FBA, but this product can work really well with potentially SFP. This doesn't have to be an all or nothing. What the program allows you to do is to manage through your shipping templates, to assign this product to self-fulfilled Prime, this product to FBA, right? So again, what you as a seller and as a brand should be thinking about is, how can I get the most control and flexibility over my products and my business? So I encourage you, as you're thinking through this, it's not an all or nothing. Think through where are the opportunities for us. Where can we have the control to improve our margins and costs, and apply that across. And we didn't necessarily hit on this earlier, but you were asking in terms of kind of the speed and delivery. So Amazon breaks it down to kind of three different size categories. So you have standard, you have oversized, and then you have extra large. So with those, you have different speed requirements, and standard is going to be, that's the highest of 1 and 2 day, and you have to have national coverage. But you get to oversized and extra large, and you don't have to have national coverage. You can have regional coverage based upon your proximity of your warehouses. And those are a lower percentage of orders you have to have as a 1 day or 2 day. And you get to extra large, you don't even have to have 1 day. It's all 2 day or greater. So they provide, again, that flexibility that you have for these different products that gives you more cost controls. So that again, going back to kind of gaining the flexibility and control, is Amazon provides that here with these different price tier or product size tiers within the program.
So, but then if I'm a brand, is there any penalty that takes place if I give this a whirl and I totally blow it? Right. That would be a question.
Yeah.
And the next question would be, what about going the stepwise route, which is, going with a Da Vinci just to see if it does impact anything, right? So go with Da Vinci, give it 6 months on a quarter of your products, and just seeing if that works. And then if it does, building out the capabilities internally. Like, are those both options, or is there? Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so really good question, and the way we'd always tell brands to kind of approach this is definitely a crawl, walk, run type of approach. You don't want to go all in and throw everything at this at one time. Again, the qualifications you get in the program is going to be 100 shipments meeting those requirements. So that doesn't mean you have to have your entire catalog. It can be a single product. You can have a single product that's on Prime that meets these requirements, and you can use that one product to kind of self-test all the way through this. So there's no minimums in terms of your product catalog that has to be assigned to Seller Fulfilled Prime. And that's the way we would recommend brands approach this: is you find a limited group of products within your catalog that you can test that maybe have a lower impact. We wouldn't advise you to go and put your number one selling product into the program immediately. That's pretty high risk if something were to go wrong, if you lose that Prime badge or something like that. So start with a mid product in your catalog in terms of performance, because you do have to have enough sales volume to get going. But I also think it can be easier to test on these type of products of what are the values. So we want to kind of understand, are we reducing our on-hand inventory? Are we increasing? Are we seeing any difference in sales performances, positive or negative? Are we seeing improvements in our overall P&L? Easier to kind of measure that here on these products. So we would say start with 1 to 2 products. And working with a team like DaVinci, what's nice there, we can give them some sales history over the last 90 days. We can plug it into our calculators, and we can give the brand a really good understanding of what that cost comparison would look like before you even get started. So you get some really good insights for it. And then, I would really just emphasize that, unless you have existing warehouse and logistics in place, I would just encourage you to go meet with one of these 3PLs, because it's a big task to overcome.
But in that case, then, like, there's the ability, if you're these larger items, or if you fall into the right category, where it's actually like cheaper to go that route. Because profitability, again, is the number one thing that everybody asks about right now, is how do I become more profitable? So if I'm in FBA, one of the things that I'm hearing is I have to go check out, is Seller Fulfilled Prime. Number one, do I fit into this? Does it make sense? Number two, do the financial evaluation of, well, I should say, number two, do I even have the capabilities? And if I don't, that doesn't mean everything's off the table. I just have to find somebody to help me out with it. And then it's the third part is, hey, I need to do actually financial analysis, because this isn't just me outsourcing something where it's going to cost more. It might be the fact that you outsource and you save money, and it's actually cheaper to, it's might one of those weird occasions where it's actually saves you money to go external.
And for most sellers that think through this, it's probably not what they would expect, because when Amazon FBA was built up, right, this would allow brands to launch and be successful and be profitable on Amazon, was this really cost-effective solution that Amazon provided us. But as we've seen over the last few years, like, these costs are continuing to go up, and speed's going faster and faster. And so, we as sellers we're going to have to absorb these costs. And where the SFP program has become beneficial in some cases, again, we have to qualify the product first. But if your product does qualify, and those kind of those parameters that we talked about earlier, we are definitely finding ways that SFP can be cost effective.
That's crazy.
Example I gave earlier, like we went from like a 19% of our sales price, 10. And that doesn't even factor in then the benefit of reduction of on hand, bring up that capital, being able to take that inventory and reduce our expenses on the DTC side or other marketplaces as well too. So
the double touching.
Yeah.
I mean, everything gets broken in transit, right? We just, it seems like everything. We ordered, some new chairs for the deck. They came in broken, right? Ordered a new lampshade. It comes in damaged. It's the fewer times you can touch it, the better, right? Because my guess is then, you probably had this even on the Veritas side, which is lower damage rates, lower return rates. Like, it's got to affect everything if you're shipping it less.
Well, and here's another good call out on this is within the SFP program, Amazon still, because it's a Prime order, customers can still go directly to Amazon team for customer support. At Veritas, we actually made an effort to try and engage as much of that control of customer experience as we could. Right? It's a big product. If you have to return this, we don't want Amazon's give you the prepaid label, but then you got to take it to a FedEx store or whatever and do the return. We would actually have a way where you could send specs to your home. We could pick it up. We could really improve that experience. Well, what it also allows to do is you said you had like maybe a small damage or slight crack on the table or something like that. But if I am as a seller could go to be like, hey, what if I gave you a 20% discount? Would you be okay with the product? Yeah, absolutely. I can live with this little thing, for 20%. I just, me giving the discounts much more cost effective than having to go through the entire return process, get that product back. And now what do I do with this product? So again, the SFP program gives you these other kind of ways to kind of reduce those type of experiences or take more control over what that experience looks like for the customer. Again, just different ways that you can get more cost effective. Again, now you do have to have some resources internally that can kind of manage that. And those are part of the considerations that you have to have when you're going through the analysis of this program.
So, I mean, I guess the next question is that something you kind of like step in that you guys are able to jump in and help people out with?
Yeah, so
Like would you help them do that whole analysis so they can see at the end of the day?
absolutely. What we can share with all the listeners today is that, I put together kind of a comprehensive guide of what is the SFP program? What are as a seller, what should you be considering? Kind of walking you through all the process. And if after that, if you feel like we want to take the next step, we've got a free kind of consultation analysis where we'll kind of sit down with you, walk you through your product catalog, help you think through all the different considerations from technology to the internal support to the 3PL solutions that you should explore. And we always say, like, I mentioned a few different solutions on here. They all have their benefits. They all have their differences. And so you as a brand need to do the reviews and talk with different 3PLs because there isn't a single solution for everybody. So helping you kind of find the right partners. And then we have some team members that can help you thinking through their API connections we need to do. What are the internal management we need to have to think through this? So yes, our team kind of works with the brands through all these different kind of phases of the evaluation, as well as the cost analysis to help them understand can SFP work? And then if the answer is yes, how do we help reduce the pain points, share the insights and learnings that I've had over the years to help stand that up for a brand?
Like, are there other cool stuff that's coming down like the pipe here at Amazon that you're excited about? Like, what's the coolest new things that you're seeing pop up?
There's definitely no shortage. I mean, between Amazon talking about AI and what it's doing from contents, and we could go, that's probably a whole nother episode around the pain points that sellers are having around Amazon using AI to change its contents and listings, and a lot of pain points around that one right now. For me, what I'm probably most excited about additionally is going to be around Amazon Marketing Cloud. I think it's been around now for a few years, and it's just really starting to get more adoption by brands. I think there was a fairly big hurdle to overcome for brands to actually leverage DSP or to leverage AMC. But as the competition gets more consolidated here, prices are getting pushed down to the bottom. The brands that were able to win just by doing sponsored products and winning those, the bottom funnel purchase points. But that's harder to do now. So brands are having to kind of push hard in the funnel. They're having to spend DSP in these different ad placements that they weren't maybe doing a year or two ago. And that's where AMC can really come in and be very beneficial. I know you had Srinath from IntentWise on a while back, and I've learned so much from that group of just how do we take this tool and help us be better marketers, especially as we're talking with some of our brands we talk with that are D2C, where we want to understand what's this customer experience from D2C to Amazon, and how can we potentially get this Amazon audience more onto our D2C page, right? AMC is the solution that can help us answer those questions and help us improve not just the performance on Amazon, but also can perform our overall retail media across our other marketplaces too.
Yeah, you have me thinking I should probably ping Srinath again and get him back on. And that should probably be like an every 6-month thing with the rate at which everything's changing. And
absolutely.
Yeah, too cool. Like, I mean, I've been picking your brain for a while. Like, any questions you have, like, for me?
I mean, I'll throw that question back to you. Like, you talk to all these different brands all the time. You're talking to different service providers. Like, what's kind of been the common pain points for brands today is, we're dealing with increased costs, whether it be, we talked about a lot about the FBA fees, but there's other fees and costs that are coming up. But I think the other thing that's probably I've been hearing is, a lot of brands had their Amazon strategy for media. They had maybe their D2C media, Google paid search and social, and then maybe they even had another bucket for corporate, retail, and everybody kind of operating their own silos. And that's starting to get more and more, hey, maybe we should think about this differently. So I'm curious, how are you hearing these conversations with brands and around these topics?
Yeah, so let's tackle that paid media piece because it drove another conversation I had just this morning with a huge office supplies company, we'll say, where as those budgets get overlap more and more, and a lot of Amazon's driving that, right? With you're talking about Marketing Cloud, you can take your direct consumer data, customer data, upload it in. Obviously it puts it into a clean room, dedupes it, and then you can target that same demographic, your ICP within Amazon and drive it back to your direct to consumer site. So with that, you've got this blending now, like you're saying, of the traditional paid search and social and performance marketing, now retail media. And everybody's like, where does it fall? Is it my e-com team?
Yeah.
Is it my marketing team?
Technology team?
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of it, the AI tools that are driving it, that are removing some of the needs that agencies were filling. And so it's it's a very muddy space right now. And that's driving the next question, which is around, what do agencies look like? If all of this is being blended, do I go with one of these, Flywheel getting acquired by Omnicom, right? Do I go with a giant behemoth like that where, because everything's getting blended, I can go with somebody where they can handle it all? I don't think that's the right approach for most brands. I mean, if you're massive enterprise level, then they want basically one check to write and they want everything simplified. But for growth, a lot of times what's happening with those is, you get locked into their tech stack that they've developed.
Yep.
Now you can't go with best in breed. And so there's this, it's the right fit for the massive, huge, Fortune 100 company, right? Yes, fine. A lot of people need an agency that might be a specialization, right? Or might be go broader so they can do paid search and social and retail media. But now they haven't been acquired and they're not having they haven't acquired a tech stack that they don't have to specifically use, because every 18 to 24 months, we're going to see new tech comes out, and the agencies that win, the brands who are partnering with agencies that win and know it and they're looking for growth, are going to have to be able to say, hey, right now I need Srinath and IntentWise. And he's doing amazing things. But if he starts to stumble, they need to be able to pull the next one in. Right. And that is across the board on all the different tech that's out there, including it's getting into the direct to consumer side. Like that's where I see it, where we're at right now. I mean, you pretty much hit it right there. As it gets blended, people are scratching their heads. But at the same time, I think the correlation with the direct to consumer side is what we're talking about then is the composable commerce versus the monolithic platform, conversation. One is super easy to implement, and you can easily, have one check to write and it all goes through that platform. But you're held back on best in breed. Yeah. But that one's more complicated.
Yeah,
it requires a different mindset on how you're going to grow. It's the right answer. They're both the right answer for the right company, but they're the wrong answer for the other companies. And so it's going to be super interesting. At the same time, people are trying to rationalize spend around profitability. And I think agencies are they're getting pressure around total spend at cost. And they're going to start, these new tools that are coming out are going to enable agencies to offer the same level of service but at a lower price because AI is actually working. And so we're just in a very, very interesting spot, right? We're in, the first out of the first inning of AI. And we have so far to go.
A long ways to go. Well, a lot of what you shared, a lot of like thoughts to like follow up with you on this one, but then I'll start this. And I realize that some of my responses as an agency may sound a little counterintuitive, but I'll show you why I think this way, and I think where it's a benefit for both brands and agencies. First, I would say going back to kind of all those with AMC and the different things, brands need to be in a position of being as informed or as their agency. And why I say that is that as you get into this, it's all about asking the right questions and framing to get the right responses out of these tools. And same goes with like AI and these different services. I don't want AI to run everything for me. I want AI to give me as much insights and understanding of what's going on, so then I can kind of make some determinations of how to best solve this. So one of the things I did is I went and did the knowledge base training that Amazon puts out. I did a certification for AMC. I learned a ton. I knew a lot about AMC going into it, but I learned a ton just going through the experience. And I would say one of the things I took away that I would emphasize to brands is if you're exploring the options of AMC, you're doing DSP, you're doing these different spends, the most critical thing is understand what are the right questions, business problems that we are trying to solve for. And it may be that Amazon has these templated reports that we can run, but they may not solve a business problem that I have that I'm actually trying to solve for. So we need to come together. We need to bring in the technology. We need to bring in marketing. We need to bring in all the different team members that are working. We need to figure out how to work this together. And collectively, we need to understand what is it that we really need to answer as a brand. What is it that we need to align on our measurements? And then maybe it's what's working with our agency to do that. But as an agency, like I as a brand, I would not go to my agency and expect them to tell me what my biggest business problems are. I should be like emphasizing that, or having an agency who can help me work through that to ask the right questions to try to get to the root of what the problems are. And then it is finding the right tools. We one of the reasons we've worked with IntentWise on this type of solution is that you got to have the right skill sets and developers to go beyond what Amazon has just shared with us for these templated reports. So one example that I'll share with you was we had a client who was spending on lower funnel tactics, so non-branded category keywords, looking at traditional measurements of ROAS, not effective. Well, when we did the AMC report, what we found was that these customers would actually engage with their ad, go to our detail page, then they would go do a branded search for a product, engage with their brand store, make a purchase. So we just gained a new customer that has no value or attribution to that original click through our sponsored product ad. When we look at this as like a low, high CPC, low ROAS, it's easy to just say, well, this isn't being effective. We should cut the spend out. Let's go apply it somewhere else. AMC was able to kind of help put this true path together and actually apply value back to something. And then that's where it's having alignment of what are the questions we really want to answer. We're going to be those measurables, because then when we go to our executive team or leadership team, we're saying, look, don't pay attention to this low ROAS, pay attention to this over here, because here's what the experience is for our customer, what that journey truly is, and how if we put more money in here, we're going to get it here. Right. But all that's different for every brand. Every brand has its uniqueness to it. And that's where I'd encourage you, like have those meetings internally, have the debates around what is truly that we're trying to solve for, and then taking that to my agency, my partner, and having them help us frame that up correctly with the right services and the right measurements of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. The agency piece, especially for high growth, the ability to have a partner that's dealing with multiple other brands, so they're getting multiple other data points, and you don't necessarily have to try every single one. You can collectively kind of learn through each other. The rate at which things are changing, the rate at which we have to test and learn is faster than it's ever been, and it's only getting faster. And you a lot of times, and I mean, there are brands out there that have completely elite teams that are crushing it. A lot of teams are still understaffed, and maybe they had the right number and they just had half their team let go. And so I think a lot of that is driving this drift towards the agency. The agency, like pendulum, goes back and forth. It's now swinging back towards the agency model, but it's also driving the development of a lot of these new tools and these AI tech tools because people need them more than ever, and they're willing to pay for it. You can solve a problem for me that eats up 14 hours a week. I will pay you for that platform, that SaaS-based platform, any day. And so that's super interesting what this is going to even look like 6 months from now, a year from now. Yeah. So
it's exciting times at the same time, like challenging times, right? Because we're all trying to, like, as this is getting built, we're all trying to like learn and adapt and stay on top of it as fast as possible. And what that, like, they can bring risk to our businesses, but at the same time brings excitement. In my position, that's one of the things I love about working in this space is constant evolution, the need to always keep yourself educated, keep yourself reinvented. What I love about working in this space, and why, again, going back to our relationship with BWG, why it's always been so invaluable to us is it helps keep us at the forefront of changes, forefront of how are other brands. And so it's helpful as a brand owner to understand that, wow, I'm not the only one hit with this problem. Like, there's a lot of us who have this problem. So how do we collectively come together and like find these solutions? So
yeah, I often laugh as we kind of get to the end here. You just maybe think a lot of times brands, they talk to 20 or 30 a week. And a lot of times at the end, they're like, man, this was a massive therapy session. Like, just to know that you're not alone on an island.
Yeah.
And that's, when I was on the brand side, part of the reason I built this was I did feel alone on an island. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who to knowledge share with. I didn't know the venues or forums to do it in. And a lot of them were just great big, sales pitches, or I had to travel here or there. And now we do, 100 dinners a year just to network and knowledge share. And I do, as we kind of get to the end here, everybody, I'd reach out to Matt Snyder, Brands Excel, ping him on LinkedIn. If you're interested on the self-fulfilled prime side, sounds like he's more than happy to jump in and kind of hold your hand at the beginning of it. But with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks so much, Matt. You're fantastic, my friend.
Thanks, Aaron.